Well, hello and welcome everyone to NAFA's April edition of the Advisor Ambassador Program. My name is Zach Hewells and I work in the Membership and Marketing Department at the NAFA Home Office. Today our host is Jason King from NAFA, Louisiana. In fact, he was a past president and member of the year for NAFA Greater New Orleans. So today Jason will be discussing being a playmaker in the financial services industry. During the presentation, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to use the chat feature built into Zoom. And at the presentation, we will have some time for a Q&A. So Jason, without further ado, take it away.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I apologize for the technical difficulties, but I promise that we will make up the lost time. I really appreciate everybody taking a moment to log in and listen and learn a little bit about some of the things that I think we're doing roughly right in New Orleans. So today's presentation is a recipe for success. And I thought I'd share with you some tips and tricks that we've discovered along the way. To get started, let me tell you a little bit about myself. Here are a few photos. I'm very blessed to have a wonderful family. You'll see my kids enjoying desserts and at a dairy in New Orleans. This theme of food runs pretty heavily through the city of New Orleans, and we're also going to stick right with it through the presentation today. In the lower right, you'll see a booth that is a charity that we do every year to raise money for pediatric brain cancer. It is a food and music festival, and we have a team, and we won the bacon category this year. So that's something that we take food pretty seriously. Jumping right in, I'll tell you that before I got into the professional world, I bartended at a brewery and restaurant in the French Quarter in New Orleans. After that, I started with the mortgage industry. I did the mortgage industry for about 6 years, and then I came into this business with MetLife in 2008. I wore a few different hats in MetLife. I started in production, went into sales management, and eventually was a sales manager for the state of Louisiana. Currently, I lead a team of financial advisors at a bank called Gulf Coast Bank. We are a New Orleans-based community bank, and we use LPL as our broker-dealer. We do pretty good at LPL. We are in the top 5% of LPL's institutional firms. We have an average advisor productivity of about $500,000 a year. And I hope that some of the things that we share today, things that we incorporate in our business every week, are helpful, give you some ideas that you can take away and incorporate into your own practice. This is my daughter, Vivian. I had her on the slide a couple of back. And the restaurant she is standing in front of is called Commander's Palace. That restaurant opened for business in 1880 and has been in continuous operation ever since. In fact, it's considered to be regularly one of the best restaurants in the world. It is in a crowded market. Within 3 miles of this location, there are more than 100 other bars and restaurants. And I think it's a question to ask. And if sometimes it feels like we're in a crowded market too, right? You look around meetings or your own offices, and sometimes it can feel like there's so many people that do what we do. But I take a look at Commander's Palace, and I look at how much of a competition they have in their neighborhood, and they manage year after year to rise to the top, not just in the city of New Orleans, but around the country and around the globe. So it's worth asking, what is different? What is exceptional about that restaurant? And are there any lessons that we can take and incorporate into our own businesses? When we were driving to that restaurant, I was talking to my daughter, and I said, this isn't a normal meal. I said, a lot of times, people can spend 3 or 4 hours enjoying a meal in a restaurant like this. She just couldn't believe it. But when we sat down, before the dessert arrived, I said, look at the clock. We had been there for three hours already. And it's not just about the food. The food's important, but Commander's Palace manages to transcend that regularly. The thing about restaurants like that is, in addition to having exceptional food, they have an exceptional experience. That said, it certainly starts with the food. And in order to have any kind of great restaurant experience, you have to have fantastic ingredients. In our world, those ingredients mean qualified prospects. Qualified prospects are the building blocks to our business. So what is a qualified prospect? A qualified prospect is somebody that has the interest, the financial resources, and the decision-making ability to make a decision about whether or not to use your products or your services. There are a lot of different ways that you can get prospects. I think that any solution works so long as you're willing to stick to the plan. We have a number of different strategies that we incorporate, though. Some of them are listed here. Client events, centers of influence, professional networking, and target marketing are our primary 4 ways of getting prospects. I could do a whole day on each one of these topics, and I'm happy to have a conversation with anybody on this call if you'd like to explore in more detail how we do these particular things. Just to give you a couple of examples, though, let me tell you, for instance, what we might do with a client event. I think a client event done right is more than just a seminar, and it's certainly more than the information that you share. It has to be about the experience as well. It has to be something that other people can't get easily anywhere else. We did a series at the end of last year on business valuations. We had 3 different events. They were all in really nice locations. And we invited family-owned businesses and closely held businesses to come and learn about what the business valuation and business succession process looks like. We had 2 speakers. One was a business succession expert, and the other was a valuation expert that worked for a valuation company. And they talked about the reasons business owners need to focus not just in their business, but on their business. I know we sometimes hear that ourselves. And what we offered after the events were over was a complimentary business valuation as a reason to get back in front of these business owners and sit down and have a constructive conversation about the ways that we can help. And that's just been a fantastic business development and relationship development opportunity for us. The other thing is activity. The slide here says add a cup of activity and then marinate, and then keep adding tablespoons until you get to proper seasoning. I think that this is an important point. I think that it's a mistake sometimes in this business to always think that we need to have simply more activity. You do need to have the right amount. You do need to be active, but like seasoning food, there is a certain amount that is correct. Too much, and it's pretty bland. Too much, though, and it's over-seasoned. And so depending on the nature of your business and how many people you need to see regularly to be profitable, take a look at that. We had one person on our team that is probably the best professional networker I've ever seen. In fact, he was so busy seeing new people, he was having a hard time executing on closing his deals. So we said, well, hey, what happens if we put a speed limit in place? And we actually suggested that he limit his new meetings to just 2 per day. And it totally transformed his business. So the trick here is to have the right amount of seasoning and the right amount of activity for your own business. Mise en place, that's a term used in the restaurant industry, and it's a French term that means everything in its place. If you're going to run an effective and productive kitchen, you need to make sure that all of the bits and pieces are organized and in place in your business. And the same thing is true for ours. And so the question is, how are you organizing your business? What is it that you are doing every day to make sure that the parts and the pieces are in place to be successful? One of the things that we think is very important is managing your pipeline. Sitting down and taking a look at the business that you have ahead is what we think you should do first every morning. You should do it before you check your email, before you return your voicemails, before you have a cup of coffee. Taking a look at your business ahead is critical because frankly, that's how we get paid. And so what we like to do is look at all of the business that we have. You take a look at each case and say, hey, what is the best next step with this particular client? And what are we doing to achieve that best next step? From a pipeline management standpoint, by the way, we think that you can have effective results if your pipeline equals your annual goal. It could be assets under management, it could be insurance premiums, Whatever it is, you want your pipeline to equal your 12-month goal. The other thing that we think is critical from a mise en place standpoint to make sure everything is in place is to have a segmentation and a servicing strategy. Our segmentation process is listed on the screen. If you would like, if you send me an email, I'd be happy to send you this process with the worksheet that goes along with it. But let me take you through it briefly. What we do is we will run our entire book, and we'll do this periodically. We rank it, we list all of our clients, and we measure them across 5 different categories: past productivity, future productivity. So how much revenue did we earn in the past, and how much do we anticipate earning over the next 12 or 24 months? The amount of time that we spend with each of those clients, the amount of referrals that they have given us over the past 12 or 24 months, and then a subjective rating about the quality of the relationship. We score each of these clients 1, 2, 3 in each category, and then it derives the total score. And we divide our clients into 4 categories: platinum, gold, silver, and bronze. And your top 20 clients are your platinums, your next 30 clients are your golds, your next 30 are your silver, and everybody else is bronze. And the reason we do that is to understand who our best clients are, to make sure that we are treating them differently. Everybody can't be a platinum client. And if you attempt to do that, we feel that everybody in effect becomes bronze clients. So this has been an effective way for us to treat our best clients better, to deliver a quality client experience. And again, if you'll shoot me an email, I'm happy to share this. If anybody here has worked in the service industry, you're probably familiar with the phrase, if you're leaning, you should be cleaning. So if there's any downtime at all, that's the time to clean up your section or your station or your bar. And I think that in this business, it's an appropriate analogy. One of the things that can get away from us, particularly when you're busy, is keeping up with the details of your business. And that's why a client relationship management system is so important. And it almost doesn't matter which software you use, so long as you're using the tool. There's Salesforce. We use Redtail. And I suggest to our advisors, if you have any downtime, if you have any space between your calls and the meetings, that's the time to get in, update, and manage your client relationship system to make sure that we are delivering on our promises and not forgetting the little things. If you think about eating a meal, and you can go to any restaurant, they can have many tables, and everybody has their own meal and their own experience, and they choose their own items. But they all, regardless of restaurant, regardless of city, follow a pretty familiar path. You get your drinks first, they drop the menu, you order your appetizers, then your salads, entrees, and desserts, and they drop the check. And they follow that process regularly. It's what people expect. In our business, it's up to us to set the process. But just like in a restaurant, if we go out of order, we can create the wrong results. One of the things that I think is easy to do, especially for inexperienced advisors, is to skip past the beginning part of a meeting. And you move quickly from fact-finding and exploring and into a closing situation. This next slide goes into this in a little bit of detail. If you see the 2 triangles, the inside of the triangles represents the amount of time spent on a particular task. So on the left, this scenario illustrates very little time spent fact-finding. And because there isn't much time spent fact-finding, there's not a whole lot of time to prepare recommendations and really understand what's in the client's interest. As a result, a lot of time is spent in the close, in that tug of war, objection response piece that isn't good for anybody. It's not good for us, and it's not good for the clients. Our position is to spend almost all of the time in the client interaction with fact-finding, asking great questions, really understanding the values and the goals and the motivations of your clients. And if you do so, you'll have a fantastic framework to present recommendations that make sense. They'll understand the context of why you say they should take a particular action, And the closing, really, it becomes a natural progression of the conversation, as opposed to a transactional or, in some cases, adversarial business relationship. The other thing is this: competence makes you confident. In this business, there are so many different ways that we can do work for our clients. And sometimes it can feel, one, overwhelming. Do I have to learn all of these things at once before I can be an effective advisor? And I know in this industry, you have to learn by doing. The problem is that if you sit in front of somebody as an advisor and you aren't confident, it's very difficult to do your job well. So my advice is to figure one thing you want to be an expert at. It could be long-term care planning. It could be life insurance needs analysis or conducting portfolio reviews. Grab that one thing that you want to be better at than everybody else and master it. It'll help you understand who you should be getting in front of, and it will make you brilliant when you have some time in front of those people. You can always add to the repertoire. You can always become better over time, but grab that one thing and be excellent at it first, as opposed to trying to be a master of all trades. And this says, bring to a roiling boil with the lid off. The truth of the matter is that this is a difficult business, and it takes, in addition to all of the organization and all of the expertise and the licensing, an uncommon level of energy and enthusiasm to be successful. But if you can create a lifestyle that's fairly uncommon for yourself. And so I would encourage everybody to bring a very high level of energy and heat to their business processes. But never forgetting that presentation matters. If presentations didn't matter, the Commander's Palace would simply make their food and stick them in a Lunchables box. When you put your product in front of a client, make sure that what you show them is well put together. Take the time before your meeting to think about what the meeting agenda needs to be. Organize that meeting agenda and make sure that the client materials are the way you want them to be before you sit down with the client. When you're in command of the meeting and when you're in command of the presentation, you'll have much better client outcomes. And if you do it well, you'll get to enjoy the desserts. You'll get to enjoy all of the things that this business offers. First and foremost, making a difference in the lives of your clients and having a nice life for yourself as well. And when it all comes together, when it all works, the results are pretty awesome. So thanks very much for tuning in, everybody. I appreciate spending a little bit of time with you, and I'm certainly available for questions if you have any.
Thanks so much, Jason.
No, you're welcome.
If there's any questions, feel free to chat them, or you could even unmute yourselves and ask them personally as well. Okay, well, I don't know about you all, but all the talk about food sure made me hungry. So I hope everyone has a great rest of their day. Jason, thanks again. Fantastic presentation.
All right, thanks, guys.
Have a great Tuesday.